So I saw Scott Coker say that Fedor will be fighting again in October. He's got options on the table, such as former UFC heavyweight champion Josh Barnett, former UFC heavyweight champion Junior dos Santos, and former K1 kickboxing world champ, Strikeforce world champ, and Dream heavyweight champ Alistair Overeem. 3 high-profile matchups, 3 legends, 3 former world champions that Fedor has to choose from. Let's look at all 3 choices, shall we? Let's look at, in my eyes, the easiest opponent, Junior dos Santos. Junior, as we all know, is a knockout artist, former world champion. He's beaten guys like Verdum, Velasquez, Miocic. He's beaten everybody. But, as we all know, he's looked bad in his last 4 fights. He's been knocked out all 4 times. He's looked kind of gun shy in his last 2 matches with Rosenstruck and Gane. And in my eyes, he's the easiest fight because of that chin. They say, like I said before, once you've been knocked out once, it's easier to get knocked out over and over and over and over again. So it's hard to pick Junior to win this fight. I got Fedor beating him pretty easily. He'll piece him up and knock him out like he did Rampage back in December of 2019. Easy win, probably a first round knockout. The second toughest challenge would be Josh Barnett. Now, despite the fact that Josh hasn't had a mixed martial arts fight in 5 years, Josh is still a dangerous fighter. Josh is a professional wrestler on the side, so he's always active. He's always going to be in shape. He's always going to be ready to go. I say Josh is a tougher fight for him than Junior simply because Josh has other abilities. He can box pretty well, but he can also wrestle. He can also submit guys. He's also a former UFC heavyweight champion. So, and he's had about, what, 40 fights? So he's got a ton of experience to work with. And he might have a little bit more in the tank left than Junior does. I say might because, again, it's been a long time since we've seen him fight. But I'll give him the benefit of a doubt. I'll give him the edge over Junior to beat Fedor. But I don't think he'll beat Fedor either. You know, that's just my opinion. Josh has been knocked out a few times. Anytime Josh has had a fight, a high-profile fighter, he usually loses, with the exceptions of Randy Couture and Minotaur Nogueira. But Nogueira already beat him in a rematch anyway. He beat Frank Mir when Frank Mir was already going downhill. But other guys beat him. All right, so especially when you lose the guys like Ben Rothwell and Travis Brown, that doesn't look good. So Fedor could beat him, most likely. Now it's Alistair Overeem. Overeem's been a kickboxing world champion, as we all know. He's a devastating striker. He's finished guys like Brock Lesnar, Vitor Belfort, Igor Vovchanchyn, among other guys. He's actually already knocked out Junior back when Junior was still in his prime somewhat. He's beaten Arlovsky before too, like that's Fedor has. But, you know, the reason why he's the most dangerous fight and probably the fight I'd like to see the most, but I think Fedor will avoid, is because he's the toughest fight, because he obviously still has some fight left. I don't know why he got cut before. He obviously has fight left. He didn't really look gun shy. He just got beat by a better fighter that night, you know. So I know Fedor has a chance to beat Alistair, because again, Alistair has been knocked out so many times. Same rule applies to him, but Alistair still has knockout power. He was still finishing guys. Heck, he had 2 finishes before he lost. So he can still finish anybody. That includes Fedor Emelianenko, all right? And for some reason, nobody looks at the fact that Overeem, as far as his record goes, has a ton of submissions in his career. I don't know the exact number, but he might have more submissions or maybe the same amount of submissions as he does knockouts in his MMA career. So he can certainly submit Fedor. Fedor has been submitted 1 time, but he's been submitted regardless. And the guy he lost to, Fabricio, Alistair has beaten him twice. So that doesn't look good. If I had to pick a winner, somehow I think Fedor would have a chance to win this fight, but he'd have to beat Alistair pretty quickly. Do I think he can beat Alistair Overeem today in MMA? I don't know. I'd have to give the edge to Alistair just for that alone. So there you have it. Those are the 3 guys that Fedor will probably fight. One of those 3, excuse me, not going to fight all of them at once. Those are my breakdowns for each guy's chance of beating Fedor. They obviously all have a good chance, but in my eyes, Overeem has the greatest chance. And Fedor will probably avoid that fight just for that reason. But also, you got to take into account, Overeem has ran his mouth about Fedor within the last 10 years. He has said Fedor has ducked him. He said Fedor Only had Nogueira and Krokop and Pride as competition. Everybody else was pretty easy to beat. He's basically calling him overrated and saying he's scared to fight him. So I think, you know, who knows what happens. That may come back to bite Alistair in the butt. But Overeem is clearly the better fighter right now. He has more than enough skills to beat Fedor. So unless Fedor knocks him out early, he can beat Fedor. And it probably won't be much of a problem for him to do it.